So, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Welcome, Zan.
Hello.
So, if you remember when we came out of our conference, we ended up with a few big sheets of paper taped onto the side of the walls on District 42 with a number of questions asked by our members.
Yes.
And we called these living questions, kind of questions that are not easy to answer, but that you kind of have to bake in for a few months or even years until you slowly get your hard-won understanding. So I'm going to work through a couple of these questions in the next couple of episodes. And the one that sticks out to me today was a question of exasperation from one of our older members who's seen a couple of things. And he asks, what the hell is going on with women in their 40s? So I wondered in this episode if you could shed light on that very specific question and perhaps that age group and what it means in the psyche of a woman in your experience. But I think it's, thinking about this, I'm also reminded, and I sense you wrote this in your book, but I can't quite remember. You said something like, woe betide. Makes me laugh now. But woe betide a man whose girl is about to turn 25.
Yeah.
As if 25 was a difficult transition in a lover's or a partner's life to handle. So I think we've got a broader conversation here about handling the transition of the big life transitions that your partner goes through when things really get kicked up tornado-like in their inner world and their psyche and in the way that they then behave in the world. And I think the fierceness of turning 40 in particular, what is going on in this transition, and therefore how do we be with our partners as perhaps their entire character and sense of what's important in their lives actually changes?
Yeah. It's really, that transition to 40 really starts at 35 for women, my intuition on this. Because that's when some of their girlfriends, same age, have babies now, married, launched into a career perhaps, and they're questioning that about themselves. A lot of women in this modern age, maybe in the ages past too. The kind of the running joke around in this day and age, well, women that are 35 is, should I freeze my eggs or not? And it's kind of a joke for the women, but it's kind of half serious, and
Real.
because we as men don't have to contemplate that at 35. We could start a family at 45, and women really have this is well discussed, and we're adding nothing to the conversation, but they really starting to think about their life. And if you're in a relationship with somebody and it comes to that, they've got to really question their intentions, your intentions, what they want, what they truly want. Maybe they don't know, but there becomes a time limited question that they have to start thinking about certain things. When they're 20, 23, 22, 25, 25, they have a bit of a crisis because they're looking around and wondering, am I with the right guy? If they're, that sort of thing. Am I in the right careers? Where what women are starting to think when they're 25. Am I doing the right thing? Am I faking it? Just like men do. But there's these milestones that men hit, which are differently hit for women, because we still have, for better or worse, we still have a longevity in our plans. We can start a family at 55 if we wanted to, so there's a lot of life questions that kick in for a woman in those milestone years. And if you're in a relationship with her, you feel that. You feel the questioning in her spirit, and you might be wondering what's going on with her, because she's distracted or distant or contemplating or looking out the window and wistfully wondering about herself. And you don't know what it is. If you're not paying attention, you're not aware, you just think, oh, I don't know what she's doing, which is what a lot of guys do. And they just ignore it. So if you're in a relationship, let's just imagine you're in a relationship with someone like that, and you're paying attention, you can sit in the conversation with her without trying to solve it for her, but just saying, being aware that she's going through some kind of hesitating, transitionary thinking, and just be present. That's the best advice I can give. And pay attention, be sweet to her, be tolerant if she's, angsty, and just the old cliche, hold space for her. Now, women who are single, you're starting to date one. Like the guy said, what is the deal with women in their 40s? That was the question, right?
Yeah.
Well, you got all these different. Life is what happens when you're making other plans, and so you turn around and you're 40, and you didn't get what you wanted with your career, with your relationship, with potential family and children, and there's a real burden around that for women and for men, I guess. So you're dating personalities that have seen disappointment, had excited hopes that got dashed, and are more seriously thinking about life. So what's the deal with women in the 40s? Same thing as what's the deal with men in their 40s? you know, they're wondering about their path through life. And is it the right path? Did I choose the right thing? It's the cliche of a man having a midlife crisis and buying the red sports car because they're trying to determine, do I still have that testosterone driven mojo? Do I still have life force? Am I still attractive to women? You know, I'll 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 cover my paunch, my bald spot, and buy a red sports car. But the same thing as women, and
Coupe.
women are renovating everything. They're injecting and uh, trying to maintain youth. They've done it for thousands of years. So have men. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have an answer. All I can think is that we're all on a journey. We're all trying to find our path. We're trying to find relevance. Trying to find relevance, and we're devoted to our own journey. And women are too, but maybe they don't know, and maybe men don't know, and we just flounder day to day and wonder why it's not going the way we planned, as opposed to the Amorata archetype, which is saying life's not going to go the way I planned, but I'm going to step up every day and try and head down a path towards beauty. That's all I know. And whatever comes my way, I'll just keep going. I just, shake it off, shake my hand in the mirror in the bathroom, and say it's going to be okay, and keep going.
Hmm.
So something like that.
So I've taken a few notes and
I
possibly a
didn't even
minute.
say anything substantial.
Well, that's it. Sometimes what's simple for you actually invites some really nice questions that maybe we haven't said before. I think in a future episode we might do what's the deal with men in their 40s and how to age gracefully.
Age gracefully. There you go.
There's a lot in that, but I wanna rewind you a little bit. And one of these things is a really kind of basic question that is said a lot, but I think it's worth actually trying to flesh out a decent explanation for this. But what do you mean, Dan, when you say just be present or hold space?
Oh,
What does this entail in your particular way of speaking with women?
number one thing, if you're in a relationship, the number one thing you can do as a man is to pay attention. And you have no clue what she's meaning or what she's interpreting. You might not be able to interpret. but you sit and you stay connected and try and understand and try and pay attention to things she's saying, the things she's not saying. So by being present, I mean, we're caught up in our careers. Like we're busy with we're starting a new company, for instance, right? And we're 60 hours a week trying to solve this. We come home and we're exhausted. We do want to take a shower and crawl in bed. And no matter what these complications that layer over top of us, we've still got to turn our attention consciously by choice towards for instance, our wife and our children. It doesn't need quantity time because you're busy 60 hours a week, but quality. To say, I see you, my lovely children, I see you, my lovely wife. I'm very busy and I adore you. And try and find the time to listen to what is going on with her, because we think the thing is, men, is we think that our worldview and our world building and what we're trying to create and the things that we're involved in are so much more important than what our children and our wife are involved in. Whatever her business is, yeah, it's not as important as mine. That's our thinking. And so we dismiss. And what I'm saying is to take that time, quality time, and maybe it's 5-10 minutes, and you just sit with your beloved and say, just tell me about you. I'm so busy caught up in my own world. I want to know, like, what are you excited about? What are you struggling with? What are you fighting for? And just pay attention. Just to really consciously spend that quality time with words, not actions. With words, you got to let her know that I see you, I appreciate you, I miss you because I'm busy. I miss you, my sweetie. Imagine saying that to your wife. I miss you. That's a great thing to say. And listen to which, as best you can, to the things she's saying and the things she's not saying. Just paying attention. And no solving. No trying to say, okay, well, all you have to do is like call your boss tomorrow and blah blah. Just say, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's thrown into this just be present and hold space is don't try and fix and change what she's going through.
Yeah, they don't want that. No, they're capable. They need your support and your honor, not your help. Unless you ask for help. If you ask for help, then whatever else I'm going to do, I'm going to make time to help you. Like that's one thing I'm very, 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 very strongly do in my relationship. If she needs my help, I drop whatever I can because that's priority to me. My relationship is priority over almost anything else I'm doing. It really is priority. Everything else can hold. Because and that's appreciated. That's an honorable thing to do. But everything else can hold. I mean, what's important? Your family, your loved ones. So everything else can hold while I pay attention here. Needs my help here. I'm going to help. That's right. I had something major important to do today, and I'm going to help you.
So if your partner asks for your help, or you clearly know that your help is required, you'll drop
Yeah.
almost anything to give that.
Yes.
But if she doesn't ask for your help, you will not fix or change. It's simply
That's
a
right.
case of this is how you feel, and I see that, and I hear that, and I'm with you, and I'm feeling this with you.
And is there a
But
way I can help?
so there's
And
an
she says, no,
invitation.
like I'll figure it out. She just wants to be heard. Then
Yeah.
I'm right here with you, my sweetie. But is there any way that I can help? I do not know how I can help you with this situation, but is there any way that I could help you?
Mm.
And Chance starts to say, no, I'll sort it out. I'm just feeling really, really worried about it now. And you just sit there in her worry and hold her hand and say, I'm worried with you. Let's go.
Mm.
Yeah.
So going back to this thing of your partner's going through a radical life transition because she's approaching a big number, she's just
Yeah.
crossed the big number, and many big questions are in her mind, and it's creating a state of restlessness, possibly anxiety. I have known a few women in my life that might sit me down and say, Jordan, I've been doing some reflection, and I just turned 35 and I'm going through some real questions. And these are all my questions. And this is what
Yeah.
I'm wondering. And I want to hash out a logical and rational plan with you to help tackle these and know where you stand. So that conversation sometimes happens. But what I see most often is a partner going through these questions about turning 35, approaching 40, whatever it is, and the questions have not reached the questions have not reached a verbal, clear way of being expressed. Actually, the questions are living as rumblings and ruminations
Right. They
and
don't know.
fears in the system, right? So
Yeah.
the questions are bubbling underneath. And therefore, the behavior, like my partner's behavior, will then manifest in heightened anxiety, heightened stress, sensitivity, lack of sleep. You know, everything's a problem. There's a lot of complaining. And before you know it, you're in this whole vortex. And she hasn't put on the table what the actual bother is.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think this is the place where men get spun around.
Yeah, because they get frustrated and they say, well, she's just nagging me all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And they just leave the house, which exacerbates it, makes it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes an understanding soul and a patient spirit, not putting up with, I mean, you got boundaries and you've got to live your life too. But to let her know that I'm here and I want to know, I don't understand, which is frustrating. You haven't articulated it because maybe you don't even know, but I'm here if you want to explore it. I'm here to explore it with you if you want. It's something along those lines, and she might not know what's bothering her, which is often the case, and she just might just have unrest, and everything's bothering her right now. It happens to men too. So you just do your best effort to try and let her know that I am here in the capacity of wanting to know, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that every man really should gain some foresight about what it might be that she's going through and some
Well,
lucidity and be able to, okay, you don't get all the particulars, but you can pretty much imagine what it is. And therefore, well, if you don't coax out a clearer conversation from her, there's a way that you can show up with a clarity or a decisiveness in your own being. Like, this is who I am. This is what I'm committed to. This is the order of importance of my values, my
yeah,
work, my commitment to you. Typically, strong answers about where you stand on big questions of import to her are going to resolve a lot of the unrest,
yes,
particularly if her unrest is based on
yeah,
your wavering, unknown commitment and your unknown priorities and dedication.
yeah. What you can't do is coach your woman. Like, oh, I've taken some programs and I think I can give you some clarity on this. You can't do that. That's not your. She's not asking for that. If she'd asked for it, no problem. But the idea is that I'm going to understand. I'm going to learn and study the psychology of women in their 30s and 40s. So I know what she's going through. So now I can, now I'm an authority figure in this, and hey, I have some things to say to you. That's wrong. That's wrong approach. But you said
It
is,
reminds me of the psychologists that use all their brain smarts to try and bring up their children, right? And the children are the
Mhm.
most misbehaving and maladjusted ones because the parents, like, they try to parent them too well. Yeah.
I tell you, there's so many guys that have taken programs or Tony Robbins or some kind of motivational coaching, and they really want to impart that to their their wife because she's not motivated and she's just hanging out, and I want her to go to the gym with me, and so I'm going to coach her, and if she's not asking for it, it's not welcomed.
Well, yeah, maybe say a few words on how you do that, or what does a man do? Because we have some really motivated men that want to change, and they're willing to do whatever it takes and go
Yeah.
to the gym and have a dedicated daily practice. How, is there a way that they can evoke a, a version of their own commitment to excellence in their
just
partner?
just by example, because you know it's being unequally yoked, as the Bible says, with somebody who's just not motivated in life, doesn't really care about her appearance, for instance. she's just happy with her job, and she's not on a spiritual journey, and you are, and you're with her. It's offside. It's just you're going to be frustrated. She's going to be frustrated by any effort you try and do. The only thing you can do is by example, show her and curiosity and aliveness and sheer joy of learning and growing, so that she looks over your shoulder and says, "I want that too. I want to have that for me. Fantastic. Let's work on this together." But if she just, and the same thing with a woman who's ambitious and spiritually minded, and she's with a guy who just wants to work at the gas station and scratch himself on the couch, and he's content. He doesn't care about any kind of improvement in his lot in life. She's going to be frustrated and feel completely like I'm not in the same uh, plane as this guy. So um, the what you can do is what you said at the beginning of this portion of this call, which is stay curious, get your own frame solid as a rock, be in love with the life that you're trying to create, and so she can bounce off that, reflect off that, see that in you, be inspired by it in you, and no judgment from you. Um, just just your own curiosity and excitement that will spill over. That's the best effort you've got. The best thing you can do is just really take care of yourself, be kind to her, be be sweet to her, try and pay attention to everything she's doing and saying, and continue with your path. Then
Mm.
you're an inspiration, leading your own life, and others that meet you, your children, other men will say, I want that too. It's inspiring me to be in the presence of you. You want your children to be inspired by you.
You're rubbing up against another theme that we spoke about, um, which is, I mean, related to this question that's been asked, which is to if a relationship becomes like a maelstrom, how not to lose yourself in the relationship.
Yeah,
And
and it will.
right,
You're going to have some major trouble in your relationship caused by external circumstances or money problems or something going on internally with her, something going on internally with you, miscommunication. You're going to have trouble in your relationship, and it's how you navigate that, how you still hold a joyous embrace of your beloved. You still care, and you still want to have the best experience, even though you're going through some trouble right now. And everything passes. Everything passes. I mean, you might have a major health scare, or she does, and 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 she needs, uh, or you need time and attention, because you're now vulnerable. But
mm,
that's what a relationship is. That's what you signed on for.
mm,
You know.
mm. Boy, there's some big questions coming out of this.
Yeah, no kidding. And
Um,
I'm not. I'm just talking. I'm just saying stuff because I don't know
yes,
any of these
it,
things any
it
more
it
than
it
anybody else
feels
does.
it feels like rapid fire therapy today in a way. All
Great.
right, so let's say you're in a relationship and you're the one going through a crisis, right?
Uh,
The nightmare scenario has kind of happened to you, and you're the one who's more vulnerable than she is. Um, in a world where men are kind of ideally not supposed to be needy, and we typically cover
yeah.
up what we actually need because of the fear of being needy. How much do we, if we need her care and attention, how much
Yeah.
can we honorably request or fight for when it's us who's got our back against the wall and need some kind of support without losing? Obviously, like, and men as a whole have got so much shame and fear around losing the sense of being the rock or being the balanced one. But there are
Yeah.
times where it's very difficult to still be that.
Yeah. I think that's a very, very, very precise question, and interesting. And because I think it occurs to me that there's there's something, we need to be vulnerable. We need to be carried sometimes. She wants to be that for us, but she doesn't want, but we can't be as sucky, pessimistic, and life sucks and hangdog. And she doesn't want to hold up that guy. She wants a conviction in you that I'm going through something really major, really a crisis right now. And I'm going to do my best to be bright through this, bright to my children, bright to you, do my best. And I'm really hurting right now. And it's really difficult for me. But I'm going to maintain some conviction spirit in me. I'm not this victim that's slobbering over the floor. I'm going to, it's the combination of being vulnerable and exposed, because you are exposed now, but also saying that no matter what, until the day I die, I'm going to do my damnedest, my best to get through this, to resolve this crisis. I need your help emotionally. And women are great with that. Women are like, there we go. I'll take care of this. I will show up. I will, mop your brow with the cloth. I will take care of you. I would love to take care of you because you're not a sucky victim. If I'm saying that right, I don't know how else you describe it. But if you've given up internally, I guess you could say, it's too much of a burden for anybody to carry.
Mm.
There's
And
got to
if
be
you
some hope in there.
and if
And
you're
I'm
collapsing partially, you need something, but you don't really speak the need, but you try and get it anyway, or
But you could though.
anything that looks like guilt tripping or expectation or
Yeah,
entitlement. Right,
entitlement. Yeah,
this is going to
victimhood.
go into this
But you can
collapse.
certainly go to your woman in your relationship, say, "My sweetie, I need some clarity, and I need to, some clarity that maybe you can give. I need some support right now." That's a good thing. That's not weak. That's not you know uh, cut off at the knees and victim. That's a strong thing to say. That leaders ask for help. This is what men don't understand this.
Hmm.
To ask for help. I need help is one of the strongest thing a leader can do. And we think, no, the leader's got to be, the buck stops here. We've got to do it all ourselves. But to ask for help from your wife is an incredible thing, or your girlfriend. I need your help, my sweetie, because I don't understand something, and maybe I can get clarity by bouncing ideas off of you. That's a great thing, and women just love to be in that role.
Hmm.
So, but not if you're, like you said, weak and entitled and pissed off at the world. No one wants to be around that.
So coming back to the transition into the 40s, like what the hell's going on with women in their 40s, the great cry at the start of this. So the current kind of cohort of women that I'm around are approaching this age, right? So my girlfriend and her girlfriends and the girls that have always come around to our house, and
Sure.
you know how it is. Everyone's a similar age, and everyone has been moving past 35 and moving on to 40, right? So the one friend in the WhatsApp group who's had her eggs frozen, that has happened, and then the second friend, and that has happened, and then the word gets out, and everyone feels the ripples of anxiety. So, I mean, I've been sitting in that space for a few years, and quietly and not so quietly suffering from the consequences. So I get where the question is coming from. What I notice in my particular cohort and generation is one of the things that will be said is, I've been hot and I'm only going to look hot for another 2 or 3 years, and then I'm going to turn into a babushka, right? So the kind of fading of physical beauty and and then what I want to do in this time is I want to have more photo shoots before it's pointless to have photo shoots anymore. And the other thing, because we also live in the age of the Instagram life coach, is the question, what do you want? right? What do you want? What do you ask it? We ask it, what do you want?
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing in the current climate is women around this age being like, what do I want? What are my unlived dreams? And how have I disconnected from the things that I wanted to do when I was young? How did I sacrifice, myself or betray myself? And a lot of women around my age are deciding, hey, I want to rage against what they perceive as the dying of the light, and I want to sing, I want to dance, I want to make my pop video. Democratization of music production and video making, and half the 40-year-old women I've seen in Bali are on the way to making a pop video, and sticking it on YouTube, and they're produced as the pop star that they wanted to be growing up. And so I'm seeing this kind of wild. I don't want to call it last ditch. That might be unfair, but this, like, I'm gonna resurrect my dreams of living my dreams, and this is part of who I have to be in order to kind of graduate, let's say, from princess to queen. I have to go back and let myself dance. I have to let myself be sexy. I have to do that because I fear that later on, I won't have the same
I'm running out of time.
stage in my life to be able to be these things.
Yeah, that's true.
And I witnessed with that a real speeding up and an urgency from the women around me. Just when I, in my stage of life, which is quite similar, like, okay, in order to go to my next stage of life, I need actually to slow down. So she wants to live faster and more chaotically. And I'm like, look, my 20s and early 30s were fast and chaotic. Now I need to slow down because I need to grind out something of depth and meaning. And that's not conducive with, concerts and driving around the island or wherever it is, and going to dance practice. The last thing I want to do is go to dance practice. It's in my way. But that's where I see a lot of women gravitate towards this. So I'm curious, like, have you noticed this? Do you notice? It seems like this is the flavor of my generation. Or what are some of the other things that you see women really get into in their 40s?
Well, as you're talking about this, we're talking about this kind of this expectation of the Instagram life and the pop star life and the influencers, and I've had this dream, and my time's running out, and I'm wondering, in centuries past, that was still a prevalent thing where the man is getting into his 40s and saying, okay, I've had my wildness, and I want to calm it down a bit, grow a garden, and she's speeding up. That's interesting. I don't know. I have an answer for that, but it's real. I mean, there's an attempt to cram in life force before we get old, before we feel old, before our looks go.
I mean, my hunch about most generations past is, as a woman, you cross the Rubicon and you have kids by the age of 30, and then the rest of your life is selfless service. So this idea of, I'm going to go and be the Bali goddess, make a pop song,
that's new.
Study with my heroes, it's entirely new. And it's almost like, you can imagine every woman and so many men throughout history dreaming of the self that they never became because they couldn't become it economically, or because they didn't have the courage to go and do it when the time was right. Well, in our generation is the first time where you can actually go back and change your fate in a way. You can hit 40 and be like, Jesus, I never recorded my album. I'm going to do it now. And I can literally just save up a few months' wages and hire like world-class musicians to studio produce me an excellent album, and get a videographer and put it online.
And obviously there's something in our expectations that is accelerated, because maybe 200 years ago someone wouldn't have a thought of, well, my dream was to become something, but maybe that wasn't even registered. My dream is, maybe their expectation was to have children and have a family and live a well-ordered life in that regard. And maybe it's the symptom of our modern times, where we are bombarded with advertising, expectations. You suck compared to what this ad is showing you, and maybe it's there is more of a accelerated desire to be something greater than that's been in the past for men and for women. Maybe a man really just got his job, and I don't know. I'm speculating, but I'm certain that our sped up culture and our sped up expectations that are just drilled into our society. And if you don't measure up to this, you failed as a person. That you didn't have that in the past, I don't think. And some sociologists or psychologists might be able to say, "Well, you're wrong, and here's why." But certainly, there's something in this modern culture of women that has the option to not have children. They can not worry about pregnancy, so they're now free to explore sexuality that they couldn't in the past necessarily. And they have these choices and options, which is maybe over an overabundance of choice, just like we have in grocery stores, right?
Mm.
And for men too. And so we all feel unfulfilled because we could have taken that path, or I should have done this, or maybe I didn't live up to my potential, or I studied the wrong thing. And maybe it's a new thing on Earth.
And not only that, but we are sold it. So if you have the feeling that you hit 45 but you never executed on your dream, then you can obviously wake up and
Yeah.
get a mentor and get that done in a couple of years. So if you haven't fulfilled your dream and you feel angst over it and you're not taking the decision to pursue it retroactively, also you are letting somehow life and opportunity pass you by. So it's you can't even let it go. There's always someone here to remind you that you should be living a different life.
Yeah. I mean, like you even like online everywhere. It's like, these guys in their 60s and they got 6-pack abs, and what's the matter with you? You could have 6-pack abs too.
You're 22 and looking at your skinny fat.
Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors, Really, it's all smoke and mirrors. And you've got to have a love for yourself and a love for the journey you're on with all the ups and downs and quirks. Have conviction in your heart. Love your girl. Love your children. Prioritize them. And that's as good as anything there is. That's as good of a life as there is anything. I'm talking to people. I'm in London right now, and I'm talking to these people who are in their 50s, have companies, have houses in Spain, and they're just completely, massively unfulfilled. They feel like there's no forward momentum, and I've got all these things, I've got all the comforts of life, but I just don't feel that I have this angst. It's because no matter what layers you put on it, there's a simplicity of life that we crave.
Mm.
Simplicity of your beloved, of your friends and family, of a nice social life. Read a book, and fundamentally, it's all the same underneath. And we have the trappings of it, and we're still not fulfilled. So it's like we chase and chase and chase and chase. And modern culture tells us you should be chasing. What's the matter with you? Be successful.
Mm.
So I don't know. I don't have answers to any of this, to be honest, Jordan. I just, as I'm talking to you, I'm reflecting on my own life, my own path, and how I respond, and what's next for me, and where I'm going, what is meaningful to me. And man, I tell you, when I say prioritize your relationship over whatever else the hell you're doing, and give it, and take that time to help if you can, no matter what, because what else is there?
I got a couple of things I want to add before we finish for today.
Okay.
Short things. The first, you're talking about this sense of the simplicity of life that we all crave, but often don't feel in touch with, and an existential angst or a sense of angst that it's not here. I was exploring this with one of my groups yesterday, and the difference between absence feeling of absence, the feeling of absence of harmony or the absence of the sublime, and then the presence of it is, it's kind of like a cloud just going past the sun. The sun's not arriving, and then all of a sudden the cloud goes away. The simplicity of life is that simple that it can just come back. It's simply a shift in perspective rather than a shift in any things. At any moment, you can put what you're doing down, slow down, sniff the grass. Like just maybe we'll explore this on another podcast, but that the simplicity of life and immersion in beauty that we long for is actually so close. It's the way that an absence of it turns into a presence is like a feat of nature, and it's very difficult to get the mind to do it. And obviously, you're not going to achieve it. It just happens. It's so weird how in a moment you can let go into beauty or satisfaction or a feeling of connectedness.
That's right.
It's very beguiling. It deserves I'm just thinking about the guys that you mentioned and not being in touch with meaning, and then all of a sudden it's like like the second hand ticks on the clock, the cloud goes over the sun, and then you're basking in meaning all of a sudden. What is it about a change of heart? It's or grace, right? Which is a motion of grace.
Yeah.
The whole world feels connected and nothing actually changed apart from something in your own mind or spirit.
Well, something in your choice of, you're right. Something in your own choice of spirit. To prioritize internally what you really want, like to prioritize that that quietude that we seek and honor it, I mean, it's another podcast, like you said, because it's very much aligned with what I'm thinking these days and what I'm trying to understand, and it's this idea of quietude and reverence, reverence around your being, honoring yourself, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up here. So you're a busy man. You're in London at the moment.
I'm in London. Yeah.
What does the rest of the summer look like to you?
Well, I'll be in Canada in a bit in August, and I'm just excited, working on new developments, new plans, and exciting things, and collaborations. And I'm not slowing down at all. I'll be writing, and heading forward into the next phase, man. That's what's next for me. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Thanks for the episode. Thank you for tuning in. Please leave any questions, comments, personal stories.
Thanks, Joe.
Digging it out with a woman who's just turned 40. Let us know. We'll help you put together the shards and shrapnel of your former self and the understanding you need to get to carry on. Join the membership. We'll talk more inside.
There you go. Okay,
right,
thanks, Joe.
See you next time.